Okay, I got a space clear for you. Yeah, I think that song is too mellow. I just did. Yeah, I know. I still have. We're on the channel. You should put us on preview. Hello and welcome to a special episode of Dice and Dudes. I am the DM for the Guns of Raw campaign, David, and I thank you all very, very much for joining me tonight on a different kind of episode. Typically we do plays and reviews of board games, we'll review board games, we'll do all sorts of stuff around board games and Dungeons and Dragons and even Magic the Gathering now. But tonight I want to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about one of my favorite games. Now, that's kind of spoiling my hand here, which is why this isn't going to really be a review, because if it was just going to be a review, I'd simply be filleting the game for about a half an hour and telling you that I like it. Well, I want to go into why I like it. I want to get more into the nitty gritty, like where you guys already know, okay, I liked this, I really, really like it. Let's talk about why I like it, and I want to get into that. I'm still going to do a few things how I typically do. I'm going to show you guys about how like a turn goes. I'm going to explain some of the pieces on the board and how everything works a bit, and then we'll get into, once we have that explanation done, we'll get into my reasoning behind why I like the game. Now, just so you are aware, tonight I have things from everything that Spirit Island has. So that's going to be the base game of Spirit Island, the first expansion of Branch and Claw, and the second expansion of Jagged Earth. Jagged Earth. So that's going to be for everything that you see here is going to be a mixture of that. I didn't want to just talk about the base game. I didn't just want to talk about any one expansion. I want to talk about the entire experience, because now I could never imagine playing this game again without all of the expansion material in it. And I couldn't really ever go back to playing just the base game now, especially with just how much content the game comes with. So let's go ahead and get in real quick, and let's start looking at the board. So first off, I want to focus on what a player board looks like. So this is the major thing that you're going to be looking at. I have one set up over here. You can see my hand waving. Woo! So if you can see here, I have each of this here. You have a growth section here on top. You have your section for your presence here, which is going to show your energy and your cards here of how many cards you're going to be able to play a turn. That's how much energy you're going to get a turn. And then here it's going to have your special rules down here. And over here it's going to have your innate powers. Okay, now all the boards are set up the same, but every spirit is different. Very, very, very different. So we'll get into about that a little bit later, but I want you to see like what we're going to be doing over here on a board. All right, so this is what a player board looks like. The big thing that you need to worry about is you need to know the symbols here on the grow. You need to know that this is for energy. You need to know that this section here is going to be for the number of cards that you can play. Okay, so that's what you need to know there. All right, over here on the main board, I'm going to focus first over here on this section. So up here, this is going to be an expansion board that's set up for Tooth and Claw. It's got a section for your scenario card for your adversary. It's got some piles that you can put the various tokens that you have. I'm going to put these tokens over here next to these. These are actually tokens from Jagged Earth that adds a new type of token and a new thing of what that token does. Event deck here that is in mainly Branch and Claw and in Jagged Earth. This is not in the base game. You don't have events in the base game. This is something new that they added. Over here is going to be the Fear deck. The Fear tokens, it's going to be 4 tokens per player. We have it set up for a 3-player game, so 12 tokens on the board. It's going to show what our current terror level is, our current healthy island things, and then our current cards for our invader cards. Okay, so this card has already been turned up. It's going to start the game there. Okay, over here on the player area, you'll see that each one of these boards is separated. Each player basically owns a board. Like that board is kind of theirs to start with. You can always bleed into each other's areas later on in the game, but when you start, like the green player, who is Stone's Unyielding Defiance, I'll get into the names later, would have this tile. Then Lightning Swift Strike would have this tile, and then the Many Minds Move as One would have this tile. So we'd start there. On the back of each of the player boards, there would be the various ways that you set up your character, where you're going to put out your presence and things like that. And you'll always start off with your particular cards. For instance, the Stones Unyielding Earth will start off with these 4 cards. Many Minds Move as One actually has 5, and then the Lightning Swift Strike has their own 4 cards as well. Okay, so you will always start in a static state. You'll always start where the board tells you. You'll always have the same 4 cards. You'll always have the same starting locations by number on the board, but depending on which board you're on, that'll change where you're at. But they usually have pretty set in stone quotes, and that's Stones Unyielding Embrace, But for like Stones Unyielding Embrace, I will always start on the lowest numbered mountain without any Dahan. And we'll get into Dahan in just a second. But that's like where I would start. So this is already set up for basically the beginning of we're ready to play the game. Okay. So looking at the board here, we have towns. We have cities. We have towns. We have our little explorer guys here, which are pretty cool little dudes. Then we have these little mushroom cap looking guys. These guys are going to be the Dahan. You'll see our presence here on the board. It's green, blue, and yellow. These guys here, I'm going to try to get this one close to there. That's actually going to be the blight tokens that start on the board. And this, they're always going to have pretty much 1 blight token. Let me take these off. You'll always have 1 blight token per tile, pretty much. I haven't run into something that doesn't have one, except for on the reverse side. Now, all of these boards are double-sided, so you have a more realistic side, and then you have a more gamey side. This is the more gamey side. It's just nicer for cameras. I don't play on this side anymore. Now I forever will play on the more thematic side, but the camera, it's kind of dark for the camera, so we did turn it on this side. And for those of you who haven't played Spirit Island before, this is what you're going to start with. Playing the thematic side automatically ups the difficulty of the game, because obviously mountain areas are clumped with mountain areas, wetlands are clumped with wetlands. It can make the game much harder, especially if you don't know what you're doing really. So for now, this is pretty much what a new player would see. Okay, so we have everything set up here. I'm not going to explain every rule of the game, but I'm going to give you guys an idea of what a turn looks like. So at the very beginning, we would grow. Okay, so if we look over here at the sideboard, you'll see up here on the top where we have this grow. I think you can leave all 3 cameras on right now because I'm going to be talking so much over the 3. I think that'd be best. I don't want to put you to too much work, Paul. Paul is here, by the way. He can hear you all. So up here where it has growth, you're going to pick one of these options to grow, okay? For instance, with the Lightning Swift Strike here, you could reclaim your cards, which you wouldn't want to do in the first run of the game because you already have all your cards. You're going to gain a power card, gain an energy. You'd add a presence up to 2 away from a presence you currently have. Lightning Swift Strike only starts with 1 presence on the board, or, it has 2 presence, but they both start in the same spot. So it would be going from that spot. Then they would get to add another presence either to where they already have a presence or to the one that they're going to add, or they could add one presence and gain 3 energy. For the first turn of the game, we're going to go ahead and we're going to say that Lightning Swift Strike here wants to add 1 presence and 3 energy. So they're going to take this one. They want to be able to, they actually want to get some more energy here. So they're going to take another energy cube off, and they're going to decide up to 2 away. So we know they're going to be building in the sand, so we want to try to kill people off of sand. So he's going to put his presence here. 1, 2, he's going to put his presence right here in this spot, okay? Then he would also gain 3 energy, plus his additional 1 energy, because that's what he has uncovered here on his section. So he would get 4 energy. So there we go. He's got 4 energy now. And we would all do this simultaneously. So for instance, I would grow with these guys. I would get to add a presence, and I would add it 2 away from one of my own presences. Again, I want to prevent the sand from getting overrun, so I want to try to kill people in sand. I would put that one there, and then he would also gain 3 energy. This guy over here, he would actually put out 2 of these. So he's going to put out 1 and 1, so that way he can play 2 cards, and he'll get 1 energy per round. So his would have to be, 1 would be here, and then he'd have to put another one, and let's say we don't know what else is going to happen, so he wants to go ahead and put his here in sand too. So we really want to try to kill them off of sand this turn. Then we would all decide what cards that we're going to play. So when you have these cards, I'm actually going to show you Lightning Swift Strikes here, if I can prevent myself from destroying my setup here. But these are the starting cards for Lightning Swift Strike. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of these. So each of these cards is going to have a symbol here, or a color if you can't see the symbol. But the color here is blue. That dictates that this is a slow card. It has 3 power. Over here, the elements, we're not really going to get into, but those are going to be very powerful for your innate powers here. That's how you're going to activate those. We're not really going to get into that in this video, but it's definitely something that you want to be going for. They're all going to have a various different ability here. For instance, this one is going to deal 1 damage to each invader in a space. That space is going to be 1 space away from where you have a presence, and it can target any land. Then over here, you're going to see that this guy here, he has a red symbol here. The cost would be 1 energy. It costs 1 energy to play this card. Once again, these are the elements. The red cards have the red bird symbol for speed. That means they're fast. The blue cards have the blue turtle for their symbol, but I mean, you can just use blue and red. That's kind of easier. Same thing, this one has no range. It can target any player, and this one is going to be target spirit may use up to 2 slow powers as if they were fast powers. That's going to be really good. So he can play 2 cards this turn. He would probably want to play this one here, and then he would want to play, ooh, let's do this one here. Now, I don't have any strategy right now that I'm really going for, but we're going to try this, okay? So both of these cards would cost 2 energy and then 1 energy. So we're going to place a 3 energy here to show that we've paid for those cards. Now, the rest of us too would also do that. I'm just going to kind of randomly grab some stuff. This guy here, he's going to play that card. This guy here with his 1 energy, he's going to decide that he wants to play, he can play 2 cards. So he wants to play this card here, so that way we can build up fear, and he wants to play this card. Okay, so actually, let's do this. Instead, let's play this guy. All right. So the player here, we all have our stuff played, and the way that you do this is you want to talk about it. The problem with some co-op games, and almost all co-op games to be perfectly honest, is if you have an alpha gamer in your group. An alpha gamer is someone who's going to take over the game and is going to tell you, this is the best move, you need to do this. What I love about Spirit Island, one of the many things, is that since you have your own secret hand of cards, and there's so much information on the various cards that are in the game, no one player can just take over the game. You may have a player that's like, hey guys, this is the path to victory, this is what we have to do, but he can't tell you how to get there. He can give you the overall blueprint of the plan, but how you fulfill that plan is completely up to each individual player. And I like that. So you're not going to have, like in Pandemic, like, well, this is obviously the best move. Well, in this game, you're not going to know what the best move is that I can do because you don't know what cards I have. I mean, you don't. and I'm not going to give you my cards and tell you like, hey, play my game for me. I mean, why would I do that? So I mean, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to decide what the best move is. Even if you're like, hey, I think we really need to stop sands from growing. We need to go. We need to get in the deserts and we need to clear people out. That's pretty obvious. We know they're going to build, so we need to try to use fast powers to get rid of them if we don't want them to build. This stuff is always pretty obvious. So it's always like, hey, we got to stop them from ravaging in jungles. Like, well, of course, everybody knows that. But how are you going to help with that plan? And you may not always be able to help. So you may have to come up with like, guys, I'm going to have kind of a bad turn, but I'm setting up for next turn, or I'm going to set up to help you on a later turn. It's not that one player overtaking the entire game, which is, for me, a big, big, big plus. Really, really, really big plus for me. Okay, so we've all picked our powers. Okay, so now we would go into the fast power phase. Now, the difference between those cards is fast powers are going to activate before the invaders do. Okay, and then slow powers will activate after all of the actions have happened. I mean, we're after events have happened, after fear cards have happened, after blighted card effects have happened, after ravage, build, and explorers happen. So they're the last things that happen in a turn. So slow powers can be incredibly powerful, but you got to use them right. Okay, a lot of people will gravitate towards fast powers. Like, well, fast powers are better because I want to be able to use my fast power before they do anything, and that's not always the best idea. A lot of times you want to use those slow powers to really beef out what you're trying to do. Okay, if that makes any sense. So you kind of have to do that delicate balancing act. So we do fast powers. This person here did 2 fast powers. They're going to move one of their things up to 2 lands. So he would want to move this guy like maybe up to here, and then he can move up to 2. As it moves up to 2, Dahan may move with it. So he didn't move into any Dahan area, so no Dahan would move. But his second one is he would add a fear. Now, this is a great time for me to talk about the fear area. Now, this symbol, you may not see it, but this symbol, you're not going to see it, so I'm just going to show you a token. The same symbol on this token is the same fear symbol. So that is a token. Let's do it on this one. You guys can see this better. That's a fear token, okay? I don't know why I keep doing that. But that's a fear token, okay? So the fear is really important in this game. You can win the game without really doing a whole lot to fear, or fear can be one of your big time strats. So that can be why how you're trying to win. Now, I've never had a game one where I didn't reveal at least 1 or 2 fear cards. It's kind of hard to kill everybody on the board unless you just have amazing luck with some of the draws, or you're just way better at the game than I am, because as good as I am at the game, I've won 1 time with it in stage 1. No, I've won a couple of times with it in tier level 1. But fear, I've always had at least 1 or 2 fear cards, no matter what. So the way you generate fear is out of this pool of 12, you would generate fear moving it down. When every single one of these fear tokens is moved here into generated fear, you're going to take a fear card and you'd add it to your earned fear cards. And during the fear phase, you'd you'd flip the card up, you'd activate it, and you gain whatever benefit there is for that card. In this game here, we have the Many Minds Move as 1, has a lot of fear effects, and even Lightning Swift Strike with their damaging and offense, same as Stones and Yielding's offense, should create quite a bit of fear, which is good. So he would generate a fear, and then he would have, for each one of these guys, if he targets that space, for each one of these that he has past the first, he would be able to push one of these guys. He doesn't, so that's fine. Again, I'm not playing the game to be strategic. I'm just trying to show you guys how the game works. So that would be his cards, and you guys can do this in any order. There's no set turn order to play, which is great. Over here, the Lightning's boon, he would be able to make either his power or my power to be a fast power. I would say he should make his power a fast power, because again, he's going to generate another fear, and then he's going to destroy a town. Now, this town has to be 2 spaces away from one of his sacred sites. He's got a sacred site, and there's a town right next door. So he's going to blow this town up. Die. Thing is, that's scary. The invaders don't like to see their towns and cities destroyed, so a town being destroyed would generate another fear. So we've already generated 3 fears, and we're just in the fast phase, okay? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Sorry, I would be short on a... Nope, I should have gotten 3 power. I'll just gain my 1 extra. This guy's power would go away. We'd put that over here. And let me move that just a little bit so I don't get confused. And now we would move on to events. So events in this one would happen. You'd have events, then fear, then blighted island cards. So the event would be, for this particular game, for the first one, I'm sorry, this one, the first one always starts in the discard. But for this game, it's going to be overconfidence. If you have any earned fear cards, discard 2 of them now. Ooh. Otherwise, move 2 earned fear markers per player to the top of the fear pool. Oh, we just lost all that fear that we just generated. Not good. But Beast Multiply. On each board, and each board is each individual board in the game, so there's 3, we would add 1 of these animal tokens to a land adjacent to an animal token, and then destroy 1 Dahan. So we'd go add 1 here, we'd add 1 here, we'd add 1 here, we'd add 1 here, we would add 1 here, and that would be it. But then the Dahan would be destroyed. And we don't want the Dahan destroyed. We really want the Dahan. The Dahan are the natives of the land. We don't want them destroyed. So that kind of sucks. And we could have also done coordinated defense. So when invaders ravage, which they're not going to ravage, so we wouldn't have chosen that one. Okay, so now that's the event card done. Now we would go on to generated fear cards, which we have none, and the blighted card, which currently the island is not blighted. We still have blight on this card. We're still a healthy island, so there's no effect. Then we would move on to this. So first off, we would ravage. In the first one of the game, there's never a ravage, so nothing happens here. So then we're going to move over here to build. So any spot in the desert where there is any invader, whether it's an explorer, a town, or a city, they're going to build. Now, if there's already a town there, they will build. If there's an equal number of towns to cities, they will build a town. If there's more towns than cities, they'll build a city. Okay, so here in space number 2 right there, they build a town. Here they'd build a town. Over here they'd build a town. Over here they'd build a town. Over here they'd build a town, and over here they'd build a town. So that's looking pretty bad. Like already, we only destroyed 1 town. We generated fear, but we lost all that fear, so that kind of sucks. Having all of these animal tokens really helps the many minds as 1 player, so they're kind of like, all right, we lost some, but I'm in a much better position now to be able to move these things around and really do something. Now we would do the slow actions. So the only slow actions would be my slow action. So I would be able to do 1 damage to each town or city, and then push up to 1 town, or I could destroy 1 town. So I want to go ahead and say I don't like the fact that this guy right here has a town, and we know that next turn this card, oh, excuse me, I forgot. We need to explore. So this here would slide over here. This guy would explore. He'd come in to build next. So when they explore, you're going to look if there is a coast adjacent or a town or city adjacent. You're going to add an explorer figure to that space. So we would add 1 to here. There is no town or city that is adjacent to this jungle, so nothing happens. This one here, there's a town and a city. Over here, there is a town. And over here, there's a town, there's a city, and there's the coast. So that one definitely gets 1. And this one actually has a town in it, so it automatically gets 1 as well. So, sorry, skip that part. But now you can see on the next turn, we know that sands are going to ravage. So I want to destroy this guy or this guy. Now, my whole ability is that I can avoid having my presence destroyed, and I can manipulate blight a lot. So I don't care too much about this space, but I'm not in this space. So I want to protect this space. I'm going to destroy this guy here. Ha ha, you're dead. And once again, we would generate another fear. And that would end this card. And now if we had any tokens out, if anything had taken damage, we would write that up. Like if a city takes damage, first time it takes damage, you knock it down to 2. Then you knock it down to 1, and of 3 damage would kill it. So cities have 3 health. Towns have 2, explorers have 1. 3, 2, 1, you'll see that a lot in this game. Dahan all have 2 health. If they attack the land, they attack the Dahan at the same time. If the Dahan survive, they will counterattack and do 2 damage. You split up the damage any which way you want. There's a lot of different modifiers and things like that that can protect Dahan, that can do extra damage to the explorer, or to explorers, cities, and towns. There's a lot that can happen there. basically what you're going to do is you're going to try to win. And the way you win is killing, in the beginning, is killing everyone. You want everybody dead. Every explorer, every town, every city. You want them all dead. When you go through these fear cards and you get to level 2, then you don't care about the explorers anymore. The explorers you don't care about. They're so scared, you only care about destroying all towns and cities. And when you get to level 3, you only care about destroying the cities. Now, most of the ways that I've won the game, I've done through fear, but I have been able to win by killing literally everybody on the board 2 times that I remember clearly. May have been more because I played this game a ton, but 2 times that I remember clearly. It is possible to do, and it's fun when you can. So let me reset that just a little bit real quick. So that's the way that we would a turn would go. We'd grow again, once again gaining. We'd pick one of our growth options. We'd gain cards. The way you gain cards, you have minor power cards with this back. So that's minor power cards. Minor power cards can be slow or fast, just like anything else, but you can have as many minor power cards as you want. Whenever you gain a major power card, which is going to be these, whenever you gain, that's going to have that symbol. Whenever you gain a major power card, you have to forget another power. Any other power can even be the power that you pick. If you pick up, I should explain that first. But it can be, you can discard a power to learn a major power. Now, the way that this works is when you gain your 4 powers, you're going to pick one of these and you're going to discard the other 3. If you ever run out, which now that I have all 3 expansions, I never run out, no matter how long the game goes. Never run out because there's so many cards. You would pick your one, you'd discard the other 3, and you'd add that to your hand. So now you have access to that card. For the major powers, you pick a card and you have to forget one of your other cards. But if you don't like the 4 powers you picked up, like let's say I didn't like any of these 4, I can go like, ooh, I'm going to pick this one, and that's what I'm going to forget. So you don't hurt yourself. You lost an action for not taking a card, but you didn't take a card you don't want. There's a lot of tactics that go into choose and what cards to choose and why. I'm not going to get into that here. That can be stuff that we talk about later, because this is a game I play a lot, as I've said, but there's a lot that goes into it. The game can suffer a little bit from AP, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video, or near the end of the video. Okay, so I have no idea how long the video has been on, so you'll keep an eye on that for me, so I don't prattle on too long. Yeah. I love this game so much, I could talk about it for hours, and I don't want to waste too much of your time. But that's the way a typical turn goes, okay? All the players are going to work together. You're going to try to conquer this island. You're going to try to kill everybody on it, get rid of as many people as you can. If you are working hard for fear, then you can gain generated fear benefits and things like that, so you don't have to kill every explorer. But I mean, it is entirely possible that you can kill everything. I mean, if you kill everybody, if we would have managed to kill everybody off those deserts for the first turn, there would have been no build phase at all. Nothing would have been built, which just makes it easier to kill, which we've been able to do before. We've played a few games where we've had incredibly offensive or offense-oriented spirits, where we've all worked together to just kill as much as we can and prevent them from building, and now kill the next one, and so on and so forth. Because if you kill them off of the desert, then they're not going to ravage the desert next turn. You can literally focus on something else. A lot of it's the luck of the draw. It's very pandemic-like in that of the setup really changes the game on where you start, what boards you use, and those things. So there is a lot that changes. You'll all work together. You're going to go, you're going to go through, and you're going to try to defeat them. Now that sounds like it could get boring after a while, because the game is always the same. You're always going to lose in the same ways. If you run out of blight tokens, once we put these 6 blight tokens on the board, we'd flip this card over. We'd add more blight tokens depending on the blight card. There's a lot of different blight cards, but depending on the blight card, we add more blight tokens. If we run out of tokens again, if they're all on the board, we lose. It's that simple. There's too much blight. Blight's overtaking the island. Literally, the spirits die because there's just too much blight. Another way that you can lose is if you run out of the opponent deck here. This is like a turn limit. If you have to draw a card from the opponent deck, which is a small deck here. If you have to draw a card from there and you can't, you lose. That's it. Game is over. That's it. If any one of the spirits is completely killed off, when these blight are added, if they're added to a spot that has anyone's tokens, except for this guy, but that's a whole special thing. But if it gets added to a place where you have presence, you lose a presence. And it doesn't go back on your board. It's just gone out of the game. And now there are certain spirits that will utilize those, and they'll be able to put them back on the board and stuff. But again, there's 20 different spirits, and they all play differently. So I'm not going to get into every single one, but I haven't run into a bad one yet. So they all play pretty damn well. They're very, very well balanced. If any one player loses all their presence off the board, you lose. So very much in the same way of Pandemic. Pandemic, you have to cure all 4 diseases to win. To lose, oh, too many outbreaks. Oh, too many. We ran out of cubes. Oh, there's another way to lose. I forget what it is, but there's 3 ways to lose. In this, there's 3 ways to lose. This very much has the same cascading effect, where diseases will cascade in Pandemic. Blight will cascade in this. There's a lot of Pandemic in this game, in the design of the game, which is probably one of the reasons I like it so much, because Pandemic is one of my favorite games. But I would have to say that regular Pandemic has been supplanted by Spirit Island for me. While Pandemic is still one of my favorite co-ops, if I have to choose, I'm choosing Spirit Island literally every time, unless it's a Legacy that I'm playing for the first time. Like right now, I'd choose Pandemic Legacy Season 0 over this until I finish it. But once it's finished, I would go back to Spirit Island and I'd be playing Spirit Island. This is a game I will play a minimum of 10 times this year. Probably 12. But like this month, I'm probably going to end up playing it 5 or 6 times just this month, and then at least once a month thereafter. This is a game I want to play a lot. I'll get into how I like to play it in a little bit. But yes, this has a lot of the design philosophies of, or the design ideas, the same kind of stuff that Pandemic does, which did help me gravitate to the game. Now, I will talk about a couple downsides to the game. One, people looking at this game and looking at that rule book will get a little disconcerted. It looks heavier than what it actually is. The rule book has a ton of examples and explains what everything does, but there's going to be most of the time you're not going to run into everything that can happen in a game, in a single game. So you won't even be using all of that that's in the rule book for every single game. So it just kind of has to tell you every possible eventuality that can happen. It's not a badly written rule book. It's just very dense. It's very information dense. So that can put people off. But if you power through, the game underneath is fantastic. Once you understand how to play the game, I mean, I added the expansions without even reading the book, and then went back to the book and realized, oh yeah, everything that just looked intuitive to me, yeah, it was. I played this right without even realizing it. Wow, okay, so the design philosophy is the same all the way through. The DNA doesn't change when you add the expansions, it just adds various bits and bobs. For instance, again, as I said, that could seem very boring playing the same game over and over and over again, a la Pandemic style. What this game does is it gives you scenarios and adversaries. Now, you don't have to play with a scenario or an adversary, and that's kind of the base game. You could add an adversary, changes the game. The way the invaders function will be different, which is very, very cool. And you can raise their level of difficulty, and it changes not only like how many cards are going to be in the fear deck, but it also gives them other abilities that they'll do. So again, scales the difficulty of the game up. Pandemic only really has the outbreak cards. You're going to play with 4, 5, or 6. And 6 is pretty much the max difficulty of the game. With this is like, oh, well, not only are we going to have that, but now we're going to change how everybody functions, and then we're going to add scenarios. So there's ways to lose scenarios if certain things happen. There's ways to win scenarios, different setup, different actions that you can take during the scenarios. They'll have their own difficulty level. For instance, this difficulty level on this one would be 1. The difficulty of these guys here would start at 1 and then would go up from there depending on which of these that we pick. So depending on which one we decide to do, if we want to go level 6, we go level 6 on this one and add a level difficulty level 1. That'd be a level 7 difficulty campaign or game, excuse me. That's pretty hard. Like I typically float around between anywhere between 4 and 8. I haven't done anything 9 and 10 yet. I'm going to, but now that I have so much more content with Jagged Earth, probably won't get there for a little while. But there's a lot to do, and simply playing different spirits will change the game as well. So the game just out of the core box, you're looking at 50 to 60 hours of gameplay easily, and that's just the core box. Adding Branch and Claw, you're adding another 30 to 40 hours to it. I mean, that simple. And then adding Jagged Earth, you're doubling the amount of time for both of them. I mean, that's just so much content out of these boxes. You get 8 base spirits in the game, in the base game. You get 2 in Branch and Claw. You get 10 in Jagged Earth. And these don't feel tacked on. They all play very differently, but they all feel very balanced. They all feel like they work together. I can take like some of these early ones, like this guy here, the Lightning Swift Strike. That's the easy complexity. Okay, the Stones Unyielding Defiance here is a moderate complexity. Then there's high complexity, and then there's 2 very high complexity ones, and they are very complex. I mean, it makes for a game where if I want to introduce this game to new people, I can say like, hey, you guys, here's a couple of easy spirits. They're pretty straightforward, but while you guys are doing that, I'm going to play a high complexity one. I can still it's not going to change the game for anybody else but me. So I can still play with newer people and still enjoy my time with the game of not like, oh, well, I'm having to play this very basic one again that I've played a bunch of times. Like, no, I can still play whatever I want no matter how complex it is, because it's only really going to change the game for me. It'll change how I help them, but I mean, every spirit will change depending on, every action you take with a spirit will change depending on that. As I said, there are 20 different spirits in the game, which again is a ton of content. That's really my only gripe about the game that I can really think of is, and I know I'm kind of scatterbrained tonight, but that's just how I am right now. It's been a long week already, and it's Tuesday. The only downside I can think of the game is the complexity of the rules, and the teach can be a little much. After that, I don't have any problems. To me, the game gets a check mark in every box that I have. It gets the highest score that I can think of. I mean, this is an A+ for me. This is in my top 10 favorite games, my top 3 favorite co-op games, no matter what. Every time, I don't see it being able to get dethroned, especially now that I have my hands on Jagged Earth finally. Nothing's going to dethrone this guy for a while. I mean, this guy's going to be on there. I mean, this, Robinson Crusoe, and Pandemic, my top 3 favorite co-ops. I do include the legacies in there for Pandemic, but I mean, I absolutely love this game when it comes to for the co-op experience. I really like it. The game is unforgiving. It is not going to hold your hand. It is going to kick you in the teeth turn after turn after turn, and you're going to lose a lot, and that can turn some people off. But for me, that made the first victory I got, I rode that high through 4 or 5 more losses in a row before I won again. That's how satisfying that victory was, because it's just like, yes, I did it. I figured the puzzle out. I got it. And the first time I won was in a 4-player game. And let's talk about that. So the base game is 1 to 4 players. The solo game of this is actually fantastic. It's one of the best solo games I've ever played. You play with a single board, and you play the game just like you would. It's just any card that would affect another, if it's like you play this card to affect another spirit, only affects yourself, and no cards that would benefit another spirit more would affect you. So like, let's say a card is like, oh, play this to yourself to give yourself 1 energy, or play it on another spirit to give yourself 3 energy. That card would only give you the first one. You would only gain benefit from playing it on yourself. You wouldn't gain the benefit of that. But the game itself as a solo game is fantastic, because you're not playing to beat your score like you are in most solo games. It's not as much of a solitary experience as you're still trying to defend the island. You're still trying to do the same thing that you are, even when you're playing with other people. And the game is still just as difficult. It's going to kick you in the teeth just as often. The big thing is that you don't have to worry about helping somebody else. You focus all on your own. So I would raise the difficulty a couple of notches if I play it solo. I would probably, like, my baseline for that would be a 5 minimum for me, of difficulty level 5, if I was going to play it solo. But I mean, yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, you'd want to play it for it to be pretty tough. Um, yeah, Solo is fantastic. This is one of my favorite two-player games. I love this game two-player. Cannot get enough of this game two-player. Absolutely love it. It does shorten the length of the game down. I should. That is one thing I'll have to circle back to. We will circle back to AP, but that can be a problem with any game. But we'll circle back to that. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna circle back to that. We're gonna circle back. But two-player game. This game is fantastic at two-player. Absolutely love it. I played this game more two-player than I have anything else, and absolutely freaking love the game of two-player. 3 and 4 player, fantastic too. Very very good. I like the fact that the length of the game is only really increased by someone who actually has a little bit of AP, because you're doing everything simultaneously. You're choosing your card simultaneously. You're growing simultaneously. You're playing your card simultaneously. You're talking about your turns and stuff like that. And I kind of try to keep things vague of just like, hey guys, we need to do this, and this, and then okay, cool, let's do that, and we'll focus on that plan. I try not to make it too in depth, because then AP does set in like, well, which one is better? Do I want to do this one or this one? And in this situation, this one's better in this situation. Like, no, keep it vague of like, hey, what do we want to focus on? We want to protect from Ravage this turn. Okay, let's focus on that. Oh, we want to stop them from building. It's the first one of the game. Let's try to kill them out from build so they can't build as much. Cool, let's focus on that. If you keep it simple, AP is not really much of a thing. And since you're all helping each other out, that can also help with AP. If you ever like, I don't know what to do. Can you do that? Oh, yeah, I have this card that does that. Cool, play that card. It's really easy to assist each other in keeping the game moving quickly. So AP, not that bad, and I love the fact that the game length is almost exactly the same for 2, 3, and 4 player. Now, Jagged Earth did add a wrinkle to this. It did add a 5th and a 6th player. Now, here's the thing. I have yet to play it 5 or 6 players. But the 5 of the people that I can think about playing this game with, they all know how to play Spirit Island. I don't think it'd add much. I really don't think it would change much, because we'd still be doing the same thing. We'd be growing simultaneously. We'd be choosing our cards simultaneously. We'd be talking over our plan, and we'd be finally paying for the cards and moving in the next phase. I mean, yeah, you'd be adding more stuff. It may add 10, 15 minutes to a game, adding an additional player, a 5th or 6th player, maybe 15 and 30, maybe. But I mean, if you all work together with the tokens and stuff, that's not so bad. You can actually get through that stuff pretty quickly without having to worry about it too much. So I wouldn't really have a problem with a 5th or 6th player. Really wouldn't. But again, at that point, at 5 or 6, I wouldn't want to add like a brand new player in, unless it's somebody who's like, hey, understand that like we're going to try to help you through this as quickly as possible, but the game, it's going to slow the game down a little bit. New players will definitely slow down the game, because of course you have to teach them how to play, but that's any game. So what we have here with 3 expansions, or 2 expansions, excuse me, plus the base game, is a game that can play between 1 and 6 and have a solid experience no matter what. No matter what the player count, the game remains the same. Length doesn't change much, maybe a moderate amount, but nothing like even like Viticulture or Anachrony. Anachrony is like 30 to 45 minutes per person. So adding a 3rd player to that is really increasing the length of the game. I mean, adding a 3rd to the length of the game. This doesn't really do that. This would not be that bad. So it gets really good marks for me for player count. Excuse me. You're going to have to watch me drink some soda.
No! Glug, glug, glug. We need a special.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My nameless brand soda. Yeah. Love the player count of that. It's really good. I like the fact that you're each focusing on your own like intricate puzzle of your own board, instead of having to focus on what everybody else is doing. You can focus on each other in vague terms of like, can you defend that? We really have to defend this spot. Can you do it? No? Okay, I can't do it either. So we both know that spot's going to be a problem in the future. We have to deal with that moving on. Now, that's a consequence of what we do. Okay? Yeah. Again, this is not a how to play video. This is not going to be a tactic style video. This is not teaching you how to play the game and how to go through everything. There's tons of great resources on how to do that. This is basically just me trying to sell you on the game. Because here's the thing. Here's the problem. Game's out of print. So I know there's a reprint coming. There always is. It's always right around the corner on games like this that are this popular. This game is in the top 20 of Board Game Geek, and it has been, I mean, pretty much since it released. And it has surges in popularity. Will jump up 3 or 4 spots, and then it'll slowly slide back down, then jump up again. Uh, this for me is an evergreen. This is a game that is always going to be in my collection. This is a game that I want more people to play because the more people I see playing this game gives me more people to play the game with. I don't want you to buy the game because I want to, sell you a copy from Game Vault because we don't have a copy. Okay. If you want Jagged Earth, we have a copy of that. If you want the upgraded tokens, we have a copy of that for you. But the base game right now, we don't have. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, so. Ooh. So, I want you to play this game and love this game if this is the style of game that you like. If you like a good, hard co-op, something that's really going to challenge you, that's not going to hold your hand, something that you really have to work out the puzzle on, this is a game for you. If you want something that's going to be a simple puzzle that's not too brain burnery, brain burny, that you can kind of relax and enjoy, probably not the game for you. But if you want something that you're going to be able to play over and over again, changing up changing up the puzzle just enough to make it feel like new again every single time you sit down and play. If you want that style of game, this is a game for you. And what I'm sorry, but some of the best character names in all of board gaming are in this game. You got Shadows Flicker like Flame, Lightning Swift Strike, Unyielding Strength of Earth, Stone's Unyielding Defiance, Many Minds Move as One. The names are fantastic. They're so friggin' cool. I absolutely love every single one of these spirits feels unique. It has its own voice. It has its own play style. You can find those that you really like to play and you want to play 2 or 3 times, but then you always invariably find that like, you know what? That one right there looks like it'd be really fun to play. Like I saw you play it a couple of times ago. Ooh, I want to give that guy a shot. Ooh, the Field of Verdant Green. Ooh, I really want to play that guy. Yes. I love that. With 20 spirits to choose from, the combinations to play are endless, especially if you're playing at any player count, really. They do have their different play styles. They'll give you some ideas here on the board of like how to play them, of what they're going to do. They give you their complexity. They're going to give you a summary of what their powers do for their base powers and their innate powers. Like this guy, for instance, he has almost no offense in the beginning, but he's got great control. He has really good fear, really good defense, but almost no utility. Utility is like helping other people out. And then you look over here at Stone's Unyielding Endurance, and wow, his offense is almost max, but he has almost no control or no fear abilities. But his defense is all the way to the top. He can really defend stuff, but then he has almost no utility too. You can have some that have super, super high utility, have super high fear, but no offense, or super high defense. I love it. I absolutely love it. Changing any one of these pieces of the puzzle around really gives you a new experience. So, here at Dyson Dudes, we're hoping that me showing you this game and talking to you about this game will make you really want to go out and either break out your copy and give it another try, or find someone who does have a copy, play with them, or heck, when COVID restrictions have lifted a bit more and we're able to play in person, sit down and play it with me. That's my goal behind tonight's video, is just to get more people playing Spirit Island. A fantastic game, one of my absolute favorites, and one of these days when I do a top 100 board game list, then you guys will see just how much I love this game compared to others. I hope I've sold you on it, and I hope you guys are excited to try it out just as much as I am, because when I go home tonight, I'm going to play it again. That's how much I love this game. So thank you all very, very much for joining me on this very kind of odd video. If you guys like to see stuff like this, let us know. If this is the kind of video that you guys like to see, it's not really a review. I mean, if I'm reviewing it, it's like A+ across the board pretty much, except on the Teach would be, a B+, but for me, this thing is an A+, like across the board. We're not really playing. If you guys want to see the game played, that's a big one. If you want to see us play Spirit Island on the channel, that It's going to be a longer video, probably be an hour and a half to 2 hour long play session. But if you want to see us play Spirit Island, let us know. We will be more than happy to break it down. We'll probably do a 3-player game because 3 players will fit easier at the table. But we'll probably do a 3-player game of that if that's something that you guys want to see. If you want me to talk more about Spirit Island, about how to play various of the spirits, various tactics and strategies and stuff like that, let us know. If you want to know more about Spirit Island, this is the kind of stuff that I'm trying to gear up towards in preparation for the Darkest Dungeon. When the Darkest Dungeon Kickstarter finally is delivered to my door, I'm going to be doing unboxing videos. I'm going to be doing videos on the painting that I do for everything, on the terrain that I'm going to be building for it, because I'm going to be building terrain, any tokens and 3-dimensional stuff that I can add to the game to make it look even better. I'm going to, various strategies on how to use different characters, and just full campaign play. So we'll have 3 or 4 of us here, or even just 2 of us here, playing through, the entire thing, so that way you guys can see what the game is. You guys could, interact with us and talk with us about the game and make decisions. Maybe we'll have one character that's just for the audience, and you guys decide what that character does every turn, stuff like that. We want to get into more things like that, and if you guys want to be a part of that, all you got to do is either leave a comment on this video, you can send us an email, or you can send us a tweet. I'm not on our Twitter. Somebody else handles the Twitter. One of the other players, I think it's Kyle, handles our Twitter. But if you want to do that, or if you see the video and you just like talking in person, you go down to Game Vault and you want to talk to me, let's have ourselves a chat and, get the ball rolling on stuff like this. I'd like to try doing more unboxing videos and more kind of varied board game content, not just plays and reviews, but other stuff like this, where we're just kind of talking about games that we like, highlighting games that we really love and things like that. I know there's tons and tons of top 10 lists, and I just saw one for the Dice Tower where they had their favorite worker placement games and things like that. If you want to see stuff like that from us, let us know. But if you want to see more stuff like this, let us know. And if you just want to see plays, if you just want to see us playing games and reviewing games, if that's your thing, hey, let us know that too. Any feedback at this point is really appreciated from us. We really, really like it. Please, 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 if you can, like the video, subscribe to us, leave a comment. You can be mean, just be respectful about it. All criticism is welcome, and all comments are welcome. Guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I think I've talked for about 50 minutes now about this wonderful, wonderful board game, and I think that's about enough filleting. All the filleting I can handle tonight. So thank you very, very much for joining us. Tune in tomorrow for episode number 46 of the Guns of Raw campaign, where we see what happens from them surviving an explosion in a tunnel. So we will get to that tomorrow night, and I hope to see you guys there. Other than that, I got nothing else for you guys. So from us dudes to you dudes, remember to keep rolling dice. Good night, everybody.